Hi, my name is Elizabeth Baldor, and I did my project on Jeffrey Dahmer, the cannibal killer. So, born on May 21st, 1960, and died on November 28th, 1994, Dahmer was responsible for the murder, necrophilia, and cannibal consumption of 17 men and boys. At least that's what he was convicted of. So, Dahmer's father, in a book that he wrote called A Father's Story, spoke on how his childhood seemed super normal, but it was everything but normal. So he had surgery for a double hernia where he began to have a trauma where he thought that they had cut his genitals off, and that went with him throughout his entire life. He also went through a trauma watching his mother go through anxiety and take anti-anxiety pills and have a bunch of mood swings, and it was very horrible for him, and it caused a huge trauma in his life. Although it was never proven, it was said that a neighborhood boy had raped Jeffrey Dahmer at the age of 8, and he also went through a lot of abandonment issues because his parents got divorced and they focused a lot on themselves selfishly and didn't give a lot of attention to Dahmer. So now we're going to be speaking on how Adler's theory relates to Jeffrey Dahmer and the person that he was and the person that he became. So the development of Dahmer, or let's say his childhood, as we mentioned before, he went through a lot of trauma with his mother when she was on pills and everything that he had to go through when she was down, when she went down a roller coaster of emotions all the time, and he always had to be there for her. Meanwhile, she wasn't much of a mother to him. He was also known to have killed a lot of animals, and his father gave him the chemicals to maintain those animals and create an animal cemetery. And at first, he was very okay with it, but then all of a sudden, he saw the danger in it or was disturbed by it and how he continued it for so long and took it away from him all at once. And he was never really a father figure, in my opinion, to Jeffrey Dahmer, as he never showed him, was there for him for parental guidance a lot. His relationship with his brother never really blossomed or grew because he had kind of a resentment towards David, as he was favored a lot in the family by his parents. As stated in My Friend Dahmer, when he graduated, his brother and his mother left to his grandmother's house and didn't attend his graduation, leaving him abandoned and leaving him with the feeling of being alone. And his father, who had already been divorced from his mother, was living in a motel, so he was left completely alone at his household, where a couple days later took his first victim. So now, as it relates to Adler's theory, so as we all know, Adler's theory focuses a lot on parental guidance. He didn't have a lot of family support or a lot of parental guidance. At least his parental guidance that he had was very negative. His parents didn't really focus on him a lot. He felt abandoned. He felt resentment for his brother, and he didn't have a very good familial life or very good support, and that might have affected him to feel abandoned and lost in everything that he did afterwards. So now we continue to the biological influences of Jeffrey Dahmer and comparing them to Adler's theory. So basically, back to his surgery where he had a hernia, he thought that they had cut his genitals off. And in all his victims, it was a thing that whenever he killed these young boys or these men, he would cut off their genitals as a sign of like his trademark. And it is believed, in comparison to Adler's theory, that the reason why he did this could have been because of his biological trauma that came from a young age. Also, he felt organ inferiority to his classmates when he was in high school, to the people around him, and he never really identified with his sexuality, and which is something that could have affected him as well, to be the person that he was, in that he wasn't able to express his sexuality and felt kind of an inferiority to all those people who were straight, as he was a homosexual. So this is a big one for Adler's theory and a big one for Jeffrey. So when he was a high schooler, he wasn't very social and he couldn't fit in, as expressed by his friend John Bactor from My Friend Dahmer, who he wrote this book. And to try to fit in that group that he was in, they made fun of him. He still felt hurt that they made fun of him. When he went to prom, he went with a girl just to show his friends that he could get a prom date, and he literally left her at the prom and did not even pay attention to her. He just did it to try to fit in. He also got himself pictured in all the clubs in yearbook and then got taken out by the librarian just to try to fit in. So comparing that to Adler in society, Adler really focuses on having social roles and having sex roles in life being a direct connection to having a good mental health. So in Adler's theory, he would not have good mental health because he never really found his social role, as he never truly fit in, because to fit in, he was made fun of. And he took a long time to find his sexual role and never was able to find a way to express it. So he killed all these people, killed all these boys, all these men. And it was because all his friends around him were straight. So he didn't know how he could express that he wasn't, or find out that he wasn't. And it took him a while to find his sex role. And when he did horrible things with it. So now we're going to go to the last part of the theory that I will be analyzing, which is adaptation and adjustment. The big thing about this is his father told him at one point, as stated in My Friend Dahmer by John Bactor, that he wanted him to be involved in clubs in school or society in school, be socially involved. And so in order to give this to his father, he instead went with his friends as a joke and put himself in the yearbook picture, as I mentioned. But the librarian took him out because he was not in any of the clubs truly. As you can see, this is him in the picture, blacked out as he was in all the club pictures. So as an attempt to fit in, even though he didn't agree with these rules or didn't really like them, he still did it just to satisfy the status quo, and he then would have bad mental health according to Adler's theory. So these are my references, and that's my project. Thank you.